Do not react. Leave right now, the text said. I stared at my phone under the dinner table while my mom served mashed potatoes and my dad talked about the weather. The number was unknown, but something in my gut told me to listen. That text saved my life. Hi, I'm Rachel Chin and I'm 31 years old. 6 months ago, I was just a software engineer trying to rebuild my relationship with my parents after years of staying away. They'd been reaching out more often, inviting me to dinners, asking about my life with what seemed like genuine concern. After years of feeling like the family disappointment, I thought maybe we were finally healing. I wasn't rich or successful by their standards. I lived in a modest apartment, drove a practical car, and kept my life simple. But what my family didn't know was that I'd been quietly building something valuable. A cryptocurrency portfolio that had grown beyond my wildest expectations during the tech boom. I'd never told them about the money, not because I was ashamed, but because I knew how they operated. My parents had a way of making my problems their emergencies and my successes their opportunities. Has your family ever made you feel like you couldn't trust them with good news? Drop your location in the comments. I want to hear your story. Subscribe if you've ever felt like you had to hide your success from the people closest to you. That Wednesday evening, I thought I was just having dinner with parents who finally wanted to know their daughter. I had no idea I was walking into a trap that would expose the darkest side of family loyalty, or that one mysterious text would be the only thing standing between me and disaster. The house smelled like pot roast and vanilla candles when I arrived. Mom had set the table with her good china, the kind she only used for special occasions. Dad was in his favorite chair, reading the newspaper with reading glasses perched on his nose, a picture of suburban normalcy. Rachel, honey, Mom called from the kitchen. I made your favorite dessert, that chocolate cake you used to love. I hadn't eaten chocolate cake in years, but I smiled and sat down. The conversation started normal enough. Dad asked about work, Mom inquired about whether I was dating anyone. But there was something underneath their questions, a strange urgency I couldn't quite place. You know, Dad said, cutting into his roast, your mother and I have been talking, we're getting older, and we want to make sure you're secure. Financially, I mean. I'm doing fine, I said carefully. But are you really? Mom jumped in, her voice taking on that concerned tone she used when she was about to ask for something. That little apartment, your car, we worry about you. I felt heat creep up my neck. Here it comes, I thought, the judgment disguised as concern. We've been looking into some investment opportunities, Dad continued. Safe things, bonds, CDs, but you need a significant amount to get started. Maybe we could pool our resources, help each other out. That's when my phone buzzed in my lap. I glanced down casually, expecting a work email or spam message. Instead, I saw words that made my blood run cold. Do not react. Leave right now. Your drink is drugged. They know about the crypto. I forced myself to keep chewing, to nod at whatever Dad was saying about retirement planning. My heart pounded so hard I was sure they could hear it. I looked at my glass of sparkling cider, barely touched, sitting innocently beside my plate. Who could have sent this? I thought. How would anyone know about my cryptocurrency? I'd been so careful, so private about it. Rachel? Mom's voice snapped me back. You look pale, sweetheart. Are you feeling all right? I managed a weak smile. Just tired. Long day at work. Well, drink up, Dad said, gesturing to my glass. That'll help you relax. The way he said it, the slight emphasis on drink up, made every nerve in my body scream danger. Another text buzzed. Trust me, leave now, make an excuse. Your parents hired someone to watch you, they know everything. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. I'm sorry, I think I'm coming down with something. I should probably head home. The look that passed between my parents in that moment told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't dinner. It was an ambush. Oh no, honey, Mom said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. You can't leave now, I just put the cake in the oven. But it was the way Dad moved that sent ice through my veins. He'd positioned himself between me and the front door, casual but deliberate, like he was blocking my exit without making it obvious. I really should go, I insisted, grabbing my purse. I don't want to get you guys sick. Nonsense, Dad said firmly. Sit down and finish your dinner, you've barely touched your food. That's when the second text came. They drugged the food too. Small amounts, meant to make you compliant, not unconscious. Get out now. My mind raced. How long had I been eating? I'd had maybe 3 bites of the roast, a forkful of potatoes. Was I already compromised? I felt a slight dizziness, but that could have been panic. Actually, I said, trying to keep my voice light, I think I left my car running. Let me just go turn it off and I'll be right back. Mom's facade cracked slightly. Your car's not running, Rachel. We heard you turn it off when you got here. The third text arrived. Your sister sold you out. She told them about the Bitcoin windfall. They've been planning this for weeks. My sister Sarah, of course. The only person I'd confided in about my cryptocurrency success, sworn to secrecy just 2 months ago during a weak moment when I'd needed someone to share my excitement with. She'd seemed so happy for me, so proud of my success. Who keeps texting you? Dad's voice had an edge now. You've been looking at your phone all evening. Just work stuff, I lied, but my voice shook. At 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night? Mom moved closer, her concerned expression replaced by something calculating. Rachel, we need to talk about your situation. What situation? Dad leaned back in his chair, abandoning all pretense of casual conversation. We know about the money, sweetheart. Sarah told us everything. About your investments, your success. We're proud of you, but we're also concerned. Concerned about what? About your judgment, Mom said, sitting back down at the table like she was settling in for a long conversation. All that money sitting in computers, in fake currency. It's not safe, honey. It could disappear overnight. Another buzz, police scanner shows no unusual activity. They're not planning to hurt you physically. This is about access to your accounts. They need you conscious but compliant. We want to help you manage it properly, Dad continued. Move it into real investments. Safe investments. But we need access to your accounts to do that. The room felt like it was closing in. I realized with growing horror that this wasn't impulsive greed. This was planned, calculated. They'd invited me here specifically to drug me into compliance, to get me to hand over my financial information willingly. I appreciate the concern, I said, edging toward the hallway, but I need to handle my own finances. Do you? Mom's voice turned sharp. Because from where we're sitting, you've been lying to your family for months, hoarding money while we struggle with medical bills and Dad's retirement problems. Medical bills? I stopped. What medical bills? You never said anything about being sick. Mom's been having tests, Dad said quietly. Expensive tests. And the insurance doesn't cover everything. I felt a stab of guilt, then anger. Even if that were true, they were trying to drug me. They were treating me like a mark, not a daughter. The fourth text, car keys, check your purse, they might have taken them. I fumbled in my purse while pretending to look for tissues. My keys were gone. Looking for something? Mom asked innocently. My car keys. Oh, I moved them to the counter when you came in. They were jangling in your purse. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Don't worry about driving tonight, honey. You can stay here. We can talk more about your future in the morning. I realized with crystal clarity that I was trapped in my childhood home by my own parents who had drugged my food and stolen my keys. The people who were supposed to love and protect me had turned me into a target. But whoever was sending these texts was still out there, watching, warning me, and they weren't done helping me yet. What my parents didn't know was that I'd learned to be paranoid the hard way. 3 years ago, I dated a guy who'd tried to steal my identity. He'd been charming, patient, slowly gathering information about my finances, my passwords, my security questions. I'd only discovered his real intentions when I found credit applications in my name that I'd never filled out. Since then, I'd become obsessed with digital security. I used different passwords for everything, enabled two-factor authentication on all my accounts, and most importantly, I'd set up monitoring software that tracked any attempts to access my financial information from unknown devices. But there was something else. 6 months ago, I'd hired a private investigator. It wasn't because I suspected my family of anything criminal. I'd hired him to do background checks on potential dates after the identity theft incident. But Marcus Webb had become something of a friend. And when I'd mentioned my parents' sudden renewed interest in my life, he'd offered to keep an eye on things. People don't usually change their patterns without a reason, he'd said. Especially family members who've kept their distance for years. I'd laughed it off at the time, but Marcus had insisted on doing a little discreet surveillance. Just peace of mind, he'd said. I'll check their finances, see if they're in any trouble that might explain the sudden family dinners. What Marcus had found was disturbing. My parents weren't just struggling financially, they were drowning. Dad had lost a significant portion of his retirement fund in a bad investment scheme. Mom's medical bills were real, but they were for elective procedures she couldn't afford. They'd been living on credit cards for months. But the real discovery came when Marcus traced their recent internet searches and phone records. They'd been researching cryptocurrency, looking up my company, and most chillingly, they'd been in contact with someone who specialized in digital asset recovery, essentially a legal way to say hacking services. The texts I was receiving weren't from a stranger. They were from Marcus, positioned outside my parents' house, watching through his telephoto lens as my parents attempted to execute their plan. What they don't understand, Marcus had told me during our last meeting, is that you can't force someone to give up crypto passwords, but you can make them compliant enough to believe they're making the choice voluntarily. Tonight, my parents weren't just trying to rob me, they were trying to manipulate me into robbing myself. But Marcus and I had been ready for this possibility. We had evidence, we had witnesses, and most importantly, we had a plan of our own. My phone buzzed again. Window in the guest bathroom, second floor, climb down the trellis, I'm parked 2 blocks east. Marcus. I should have known he'd position himself where he could see everything. Rachel, Dad's voice was getting more insistent. Come sit back down, let's talk about this like adults. I think I need some air, I said, moving toward the stairs. Maybe I'll lie down for a few minutes. The guest room's all made up, Mom said quickly, too quickly. I put fresh sheets on this morning. Another text. Don't go to guest room. They put something in the air freshener. Bathroom only, move fast. I climbed the stairs on shaking legs, hearing my parents whisper urgently below. The hallway felt endless, lined with family photos that now looked sinister in the dim light. Pictures of graduations, birthdays, holidays, all fake smiles and forced poses. The guest bathroom was exactly as I remembered from childhood visits. Same floral wallpaper, same window facing the backyard. I locked the door and immediately started trying to open the window. It was painted shut. Rachel? Mom's voice from the bottom of the stairs. Are you feeling better, honey? Just need a minute, I called back, frantically working at the window frame with my car key. My phone. They're coming upstairs, Dad's getting something from their bedroom, hurry. I could hear footsteps on the stairs now, slow and deliberate. Finally the window gave way with a soft crack. The screen popped out easily, and I looked down at the rose trellis Dad had built years ago. It looked sturdy enough, but it was a 15-foot drop if it failed. Rachel? A knock at the bathroom door. Sweetheart, are you all right in there? Just feeling a little sick, I said, swinging one leg over the windowsill. Must be something I ate. I heard the doorknob turn. Thank God I'd locked it. Rachel, open the door please. Dad's voice now firmer. We're worried about you. I was halfway out the window when I heard the key in the lock. Of course they'd kept a master key to all the bathroom doors. I dropped onto the trellis just as the door opened behind me. Where did she? Mom's voice cut off as she saw the open window. I scrambled down the wooden lattice, splinters catching at my clothes. A light came on in the bathroom above me, and I heard Dad's voice. She went out the window. Check the front yard, I'll go around back. My feet hit the ground just as the back porch light flooded the yard. I ran toward the side gate, hearing Dad's heavy footsteps on the deck behind me. Rachel, come back here, you're not thinking clearly. I vaulted over the gate and sprinted down the dark street, my heart hammering against my ribs. 2 blocks felt like 2 miles, but finally I saw Marcus's sedan parked under a broken streetlight. I dove into the passenger seat, gasping. Drive, I panted. Drive now. Marcus was already putting the car in gear. Are you hurt? Did they get you to take anything? I don't know, maybe. How did you know? He handed me a water bottle and a small recording device. I've been watching them for 3 days. Tonight they had a visitor. What visitor? I asked, still shaking as Marcus drove us toward the police station. A guy named Tony Marchetti. He runs a digital recovery service out of a strip mall downtown. Your parents hired him to help them access your accounts once they got your passwords. Marcus pulled into a well-lit parking lot and showed me his camera. The telephoto lens had captured everything: my parents meeting with a seedy-looking man in a rumpled suit, money changing hands, what looked like a small vial being passed to my mother. That's the sedative, Marcus explained. Enough to make you suggestible but not unconscious. They wanted you to willingly give them access to your cryptocurrency wallets. I stared at the photos, feeling sick. My own parents. It gets worse. Tony brought equipment with him. Keyloggers, screen capture software, the works. They were planning to record everything you typed on their laptop, then use that information to drain your accounts after you left. My phone started ringing. Mom's number. Don't answer it, Marcus said. We need to get to the police station first. But before we do, there's something else you should know. He pulled up another photo on his camera. This one showed Sarah, my sister, talking to Tony Marchetti outside a coffee shop. She's been working with them the whole time. She's the one who told them exactly how much cryptocurrency you own, and she's been feeding them information about your habits, your schedule, when you'd be most vulnerable. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow, not just my parents but Sarah too. The sister I'd confided in, trusted, loved despite everything. My phone rang again. Dad this time. Answer it, Marcus said suddenly. I want to record this conversation. Let them incriminate themselves. With shaking fingers, I accepted the call and put it on speaker. Rachel, thank God. Where are you? We're so worried about you. I'm fine, Dad. I'm somewhere safe. Safe? Honey, you ran out of here like you were having some kind of breakdown. Come home, let us help you. Help me with what, Dad? A pause. With your situation. We know you're overwhelmed by all that money. It's not healthy for someone your age to have that much responsibility. Marcus motioned for me to keep him talking. How do you know about my money, Dad? Sarah told us. She's worried about you too. We all are. You've been acting strange lately, paranoid. Maybe we should get you some help. What kind of help? Just someone to talk to, someone professional, and maybe we can help you put that money somewhere safer, more stable. There it was, the admission we needed. You want access to my accounts. We want to help you manage them properly. You're clearly not in a state of mind to make good financial decisions. I looked at Marcus, who was recording everything on his phone. He nodded encouragingly. What did you put in my food, Dad? Silence. Long, damning silence. I don't know what you're talking about. The sedative? The thing that was supposed to make me more compliant? Rachel, you're not making sense. Maybe you should. I have pictures, Dad, of you meeting with Tony Marchetti, of the money you paid him, of the equipment he brought to the house. Another long pause. When Dad spoke again, his voice was different, cold. You don't understand. This money has changed you. You've become selfish, secretive. We're your family. We deserve to share in your success. By drugging me? We were trying to help you see reason. And Sarah? What's her cut of this? Sarah cares about you. We all do. Sarah's been working with Tony Marchetti for weeks, Dad. I have photos of that too. The line went quiet. Then I heard Mom's voice in the background. She knows everything. Dad came back on the line, and his voice was filled with rage. You ungrateful little bitch, after everything we've done for you, you owe us. Marcus ended the recording and smiled grimly. I think we have enough. As we pulled into the police station parking lot, I realized I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the one with the evidence, the witnesses, and the power to make sure they faced consequences for their betrayal. The police arrested my parents 3 hours later. Tony Marchetti was picked up at his office the next morning, along with all his illegal hacking equipment. The sedatives were found exactly where Marcus said they'd be, hidden in the spice cabinet, mixed into a salt shaker specifically labeled for my place setting. Sarah tried to claim she'd been manipulated, that she hadn't known the full plan, but Marcus had recordings of her conversations with Tony, detailing exactly how much money I had and the best ways to access my accounts. My parents posted bail but were forbidden from contacting me. During the trial, the full scope of their planning became clear. They'd been scheming for 3 months, researching ways to have me declared mentally incompetent so they could gain control of my finances. They'd underestimated me completely. They saw a lonely daughter they could manipulate, but I'd learned to protect myself long ago. I moved to a new city, changed my phone number, and built a life surrounded by people who valued me for who I was, not what I owned. The family who tried to drug and rob me became strangers by choice. For the first time in my life, I understood what real safety felt like. If you've ever had family members try to take advantage of your success, or if you've ever felt like you couldn't trust the people closest to you with important news, hit subscribe and share your story in the comments. I want to know where you're watching from and how you learn to protect yourself. Remember, blood doesn't guarantee loyalty, and sometimes the people who claim to love you the most are the ones you need to watch the closest. Trust your instincts, they might just save your life.